should you buy the iPhone 16e or the older iPhone 13 Pro Max? In today's video, we're going to compare this 4-year-old flagship phone against the most recent budget iPhone. If you are excited, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel, let's get started. Yes, the iPhone 13 Pro Max came out in 2021, and when it did, it was the most expensive iPhone ever. Like always, this was the flagship iPhone at the time, and this had several new features, mainly the 120Hz display and the new lens. It has a much bigger sensor than the iPhone 12 Pro Max, which took much better photos. It also introduced cinematic mode and so many new features. While the iPhone 16e is today's day and age budget iPhone. It costs around $600 and it only has one single lens. It's made of aluminum. It has an OLED display at the front and it features the iPhone 13 almost-like design. So, which of these two iPhones should you get? Well, the interesting thing is the iPhone 16e in 2025 is more expensive than a used iPhone 13 Pro Max or a refurbished iPhone 13 Pro Max. So, it's actually a very tough choice. One has a better chip, the other one has a better display and camera system. So, which of these devices is for you? Well, starting off from the sensations and the design in the hand, these two iPhones are very different. The iPhone 16e is small, compact, and very lightweight, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max is big, bulky, and very heavy. Because these two phones are made of two different materials. The iPhone 16e is made of aluminum and glass, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max is made of stainless steel and glass. Which one do I prefer in the hand? Well, with time, I think I enjoyed more the iPhone 16e. This is smaller and lighter weight, so it means it's easier to carry around. I think that nowadays I prefer smaller iPhones. Although, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max, you also have the choice to go for the iPhone 13 Pro. And if that's the case, you will get completely the same phone with a smaller display and a smaller battery. The only thing that I would say is, if you are opting for smaller iPhones that are older, be very careful with the battery health of those phones. Because if you are not careful, then you'll probably get a terrible battery experience. Again, the 13 Pro Max was an incredible iPhone when we talk about battery, and so in 2025, it won't be that big of a difference between the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the iPhone 16e. Both of these phones will last you the whole day. Just be careful whenever you buy a refurbished or used iPhone, check if the battery health is healthy, so more than 85%, you should be good. Try to get one with 90% upwards, so it lasts you longer. If not, buy one for cheap and then replace the battery at Apple. But again, be very careful when you're doing this, because your battery experience might be completely different depending on the battery health of your phone. Going on. The iPhone 16e also has the USB-C port, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max features the Lightning port. This might be a deal breaker, and for me, it's something that makes me consider, because the iPhone 16e featuring USB-C means it's completely up to date with every single accessory and every single cable that you have, a charger. While the iPhone 13 Pro Max having Lightning, it means it's on the obsolete side of things. Lightning is going to die. That's a matter of time. And so, having Lightning means that your iPhone's time is counted. It's almost like a clock ticking. While the 16e having USB-C, it's a big advantage. But here's the thing, the iPhone 16e is made of aluminum, and so the durability of this overall device will be worse. If you drop this device, if you scratch this device, if you don't use it as a case, then you will start to notice some dings, some dents, some scratches. While the iPhone 13 Pro Max, made of stainless steel, well, you will only notice some smudges and a few scratches, but other than that, this iPhone will continue to be brand new. Both of these iPhones feature ceramic shield, so in terms of the glass on the front, no issues there. Always wear a screen protector on your phone, because again, it will scratch very easily. While the glass on the back, pretty simple, it's the same matte glass, while the iPhone 16e feels a bit different. I don't know why. This year's texture on the 16e, it's kind of different than the years before. It's not as glossy. I think I prefer the iPhone 13 Pro Max look in terms of the color. The black on the 16e is kind of boring. You only have two choices for the 16e, black and white, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max you have several. My favorite was the green, the forest green, but I also love the Sierra blue on the iPhone 13 Pro Max that I had right here. So, both of these phones are very different whenever you hold them in their hand. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is almost like 50 grams heavier than the iPhone 16e. It feels heavier in the hand, it's much bulkier. Again, you can see the size difference in my hands, how much bigger the iPhone 13 Pro Max is. The iPhone 16e features a smaller display. This is a 6.1-inch OLED display, while the 13 Pro Max features a 6.7-inch OLED display. Again, let's talk about the displays. These two displays are very good. The iPhone 16e has an 800 nit peak brightness OLED display, the same OLED display present on the first iPhone XS. So this is a budget OLED display, I would say. It's 60 Hz still, It's almost like the display on the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I think, or the 12 Pro. It's not nothing new and it's not innovative enough. It does not have 120 Hz. Although, for me, in the last couple of weeks, and there was a week where I used the iPhone 16e, I kind of forgot about 120 Hz. But the iPhone 13 Pro Max does have 120 Hz, and it does have a brighter display. So if that's something for you, I think this has 1000 nits peak of brightness. I'm not sure. But if that's something very important for you, the iPhone 13 Pro Max does have a brighter display with 120 Hz that is bigger. This one is 6.7 inches, this one is 6.1. So if you put them side to side with the same video on YouTube, you can probably notice a bit of a difference on the color, scheme of things, and the brightness, but overall, inside, with good lighting, these two are incredible displays. Outside, whenever you're taking photos and videos, you might notice that the iPhone 13 Pro Max display is a tiny bit brighter and a tiny bit better. Both iPhones feature the same notch on the front, so no issues there. They do have the same old notch, they don't have dynamic island, so on those matters, they are tied. And in terms of borders, pretty much the same also. So again, both displays are really good. Biggest difference is the size, if you buy the 13 Pro Max. If you buy the 13 Pro, it's the same thing. And the 120 Hz, something that most people won't notice at first, but when you explain to them, they will actually notice it and they will say, oh, it makes a difference. But for me, after a week, I would say that 120 Hz is the least of my worries, something that both of these phones do not have, and something that I love is the always-on display. So again, biggest difference in terms of display, 120 Hz on the 13 Pro Max, no 120 Hz, only 60 Hz right here. As for the buttons and special features, there's a difference. The iPhone 16e features the action button, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max still features the old mute switch button. Again, I normally don't use this button that much, so I like this mute switch button on the older iPhones. But the action button since the iPhone 15 Pro Max has evolved a lot, and now you can turn it on to be a ChatGPT button, something that's very useful. Oh, and talking about ChatGPT, this iPhone does have Apple Intelligence, and it's now available on the iPhone 16e here in my country. So since I've been using it, I think it's quite fun. It's different, it allows you to do some different things, and it's not available on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. It's not the biggest thing, and it's not a deal breaker for me. So I would say that if you like this gimmick, and it's big enough for you to choose the 16e, at least because you know it's future-proof for that, then yeah, go for the 16e. This features the A18 chip, while this one I think it's the A14, the A13. I think it's the A13, if I'm not sure. But still, I mean, let's be honest. The iPhone 16e having the A18 chip does not matter, right? Because playing games, web browsing, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter works fine on both devices. So not having the same chip, it does not really matter. The only thing that might matter is the software support and Apple Intelligence. So if that's something big for you, buy the newest iPhone, the iPhone 16e. If not, then this iPhone 13 Pro Max might still have like 3-4 years of upgrades more. So it's something that you need to weigh out and see which one matters the most. Oh boy, let's now talk about the cameras. Yes, the cameras on both iPhones are completely different. These two camera systems do not compete with each other. The iPhone 16e does have one single sensor. This is a 40 megapixel single sensor, and it's the main sensor. It's a 24mm sensor that can crop in 2 times to do a 2x optical zoom. It's not bad, but it's a smaller sensor. You can definitely notice that it's a small sensor. While the iPhone 13 Pro Max, although this is a 12 megapixel main sensor, does feature 2 more lenses, the ultra-wide lens and the telephoto lens. This telephoto is, I think, equivalent to 2.5x or 3x. I think it's a 3x telephoto. And being a 3x telephoto takes 3x shots, equivalent to 70 millimeters. Can also take 1x and 0.5x, so the ultra-wide lens and the main lens. None of these iPhones can do the magic of the iPhone 16 Pro Max that takes 24mm, 28mm, and then 35mm to crop in on that 40 megapixel main sensor. They can't. So this one only has one focal length that is optical, so the 24mm, and then you can take a crop of 40mm, while the iPhone 13 Pro Max does have a 24 or a 26mm equivalent main lens, then has a 70mm telephoto, and I think it's a 16mm ultra-wide lens. Both camera systems are completely different, and I think that if you put them side to side, I don't have comparisons in terms of photos, but if you put them side to side, you'll notice a big difference in terms of the look of the photos. The 13 Pro Max does have this big sensor look, this background blur, this bokeh, because this sensor is big. This is a big phone, so it can feature a big sensor. And if you put them side by side, you'll actually notice that the iPhone 13 Pro Max sensor, although it's older, it's a bit better than the 40 megapixel right here. Again, both photos are really good, and for day-to-day use, the iPhone 13 Pro Max and the iPhone 16e are tied. But whenever you apply the rest of the variables, you have an ultra-wide camera, you have a telephoto, you will notice that it has more versatility. It's more versatile, and whenever you go into vacations, whenever you take photos, and whenever you take videos, having these different focal lenses will prove to be a very, very useful thing. So, if you like cameras, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but if you like cameras, then buying the 13 Pro Max, still, a 40-year-old iPhone, a 40-year-old flagship, I think it's a better alternative than buying the iPhone 16e. Simply because this iPhone does not have more focal lenses, does not have more lenses overall. It's a single camera iPhone. If you don't really care about the camera and you only care about software upgradability and software support and longevity of the iPhone, I would buy the iPhone 16e. But the camera system on the iPhone 13 Pro Max was so good and is still so good in 2025 that I would say that if you like cameras and you want to take video and photos for social media, I would buy the 13 Pro Max because it also has a bit brighter display and a better display, a bit better, and because it has 120 Hz, and because it has a bigger display and a tiny bit better battery life, or at least a bigger battery overall, then taking photos with this iPhone will be always a better experience. If you only use your iPhone to take photos for social media, it's small photos, or at least to send to kids, or send to your father, to your grandma, whatever, and it's a single-use camera, then buying a single camera iPhone won't be that bad of a choice. But you need to be having this in mind. You need to be thinking about the compromises and the pros and cons of both iPhones. These two iPhones are completely different. They cost about the same, or at least the iPhone 13 Pro Max you can find it cheaper, but you will be buying a used iPhone. You will be buying a used iPhone that can have problems out of itself. While if you buy the 16e, you are buying a new iPhone that has the guarantee of the brand, and it has the most amount of years of software support. The 13 Pro Max features 120 Hz, features a better build, features more premium materials, and overall features a better camera system with more versatility and more choices of lenses. So these two are very, very different propositions. You need to choose your venom. You need to choose the compromises. You need to compromise always because you are not buying the best of the iPhones. No, you are buying a cheaper iPhone. So you need to compromise whenever you want. A newer, but in my opinion, worst iPhone, or an older, but in my opinion, better iPhone. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Which of these iPhones would you pick? And are you buying any of these? Let me know all of that in the comments down below. Drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.